other side. In Ottawa, Canada, there is a friendly hostel for travelers. But accommodations here aren't like any other. It was once a prison, home to Canada's most infamous convicts.
The accommodation we offer is within the original cells, with the original bars, the original brickwork. It's a unique environment. In fact, we do get some people come here purely to say, I've spent time in jail. It's something to write home about. As far as I know, there's no other hostel like it anywhere in the world.
But there is a haunting history to this rest stop. Inmates here learned the definition of hard time.
This institution was particularly brutal. The cells were small. There were only 3x9 cells, freezing in the winter and too hot in the summer. There wasn't any running water. There wasn't any electricity. So if you were a prisoner housed in one of the cells in the wintertime, there's a really good chance that you froze to death or got frostbite. 2 years in this institution could mean your life.
Could this building's cruel and unusual background be the reason for the numerous reports of ghostly activity? Renowned psychic Peter James is brought in to find some answers. Immediately, James receives visions of the hostel's deadly past.
This is preliminary, but I feel like there were some hangings here. A lot of hanging going on here. Does that ring a bell?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
It does.
Thank you.
It does have a history.
Okay.
A psychic hotspot pulls him to the former death row of the prison.
Is this the floor that that would be a focal point?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Yes or no to this question. Does the name Patrick mean anything?
Absolutely.
Patrick?
Yes, it does.
Patrick with a with a W, with a like a wheel. And it's right in this area is where I feel it.
Patrick James Whelan was a death row inmate in 1868. He was convicted of the murder of politician Thomas McGee. Whelan's execution was the last public hanging in Canadian history.
At that time, public hangings were reasonably common across the world. That was the way justice was done. And the doors were opened onto the outside world, and about 5,000 people turned up to see him die.
As if he were led by Whelan himself, Peter is compelled to walk to the parking lot.
Patrick had something to do with this area as well.
It was Patrick Whelan's wish that his body be buried in Montreal next to the grave of his best friend. And the then Prime Minister of the time had promised him that this wish would be granted. In actual fact, his body was buried in the courtyard of the jail in the middle of the night with no ceremony of any sort.
Is this why Whelan's spirit refuses to leave this dwelling? Does Whelan have something he wants the living to know? Peter James attempts direct contact with the murderous presence.
See, I hear screams, I hear moans and groans, because I get a sense of whippings and, hello? Hello? Who's here? Someone's at that far corner. Look. Patrick! You're in another dimension. Talk to me now. Yes, see, I feel he's talking. He's talking to me now, and he's saying that he didn't like Mickey. Mickey? Who's Mickey? Now, he says, I wasn't even here in November. Now, what does that mean?
Was Whelan trying to say he didn't kill Thomas McGee? An innocent man may have been sent to the gallows.
The evidence convicting Whelan for the murder of McGee was very, very circumstantial. It was based on hearsay. No one ever even saw the assassin who killed McGee.
Peter continued his communication with the spirit world and followed Whelan's last walk toward his death.
Vibrationally, I don't want to go. I know it's my last walk. It's my last moment of life. I mean, how sad, how tragically sad.
Whelan, on the day of his execution, was led to the gallows from his last death row cell. And standing on the gallows, they said, "Any last words, Jim?" And he said, "God save Ireland and God save my soul." With that, they put the white hood over his head and the noose around his neck, and they hung him.
Recently, Patrick Whelan's ancestors have petitioned to reopen his case and prove his innocence. Maybe then his soul will finally rest.
I would say his presence is certainly here, and I believe that he walks these corridors nightly looking for a way out.
And now for the Onyx Report. After-death communication has been experienced by millions of people, suggesting that there is life after death.
Actually, we believe that children and other loved ones are there around their parents and other family members continuously, initially, trying to break through, trying to have somebody hear them.
Many times, they communicate a message of hope.
His assignment, after he made the transition, was to work with me to help me bring out information to help save the lives of children.
He had his arm around her, and he just said, "I've got her now, baby, and she's okay."
I don't want to say it frightened me, but this was something that was way beyond any of us.
Other cases suggest that these spirits have unfinished business on Earth.
In folklore and in numerous world traditions, there's the idea that spirits of murdered individuals, people who died unnatural deaths, wander or can't go to heaven.
Her death was kind of a mystery because we don't really know if she fell and hit her head.
Kate was telling us it was a hit. It wasn't a random shooting. It was a planned killing.
Sometimes the voices can save a life.
I don't know if you're going to believe this, but the only reason I went out to check the pool was because I heard the voice of my father say, "Go check the pool."
Sometimes they can solve a crime.
I said, "Who are you?" And he said, "My name is Frank Malloy, and I want to ask why I was murdered. For what reason?"
He believed it happened. He talked to the spirit. He confessed to Frank Malloy's spirit.
Or even offer a last goodbye.
Maybe that was God's way of telling me, here she is, you will get to see her one more time. And he let her tell me, Mom, I'm okay.
Many experts have concluded that after-death communication is a natural part of the human experience.
The study of ADCs is exciting because we all face the experience of bereavement at one point or another in our lives.
1 out of 5 Americans, or 20% of the entire population, has had at least one after-death communication experience.
But the most compelling proof comes from those who have heard the message themselves.
To me, it was a wonderful experience, very emotional experience.
I don't know why it happened, but I know it happened to me. And, so I will treasure it. As long as I live, I will always treasure that.
I couldn't explain any of this. All I could say to myself was, it's happening. Somehow it's happening.
No matter what you believe, after-death communication is an experience few people are ready for.
This child was just absolutely frantic from this experience.
She was very terrified at that moment, and I said, "You need to calm down."
You can't do this work without becoming emotionally involved in it.
In the end, contact with the other side is a very personal experience. The only evidence comes from the eyewitnesses. The only proof is their own faith. Whether this is just wishful thinking, a natural part of the grieving process, or something else, no one really knows. That is why for now, after-death communication will remain an unexplained mystery.